Good afternoon, Tina, Tim, and Diane. Waiting for a few others to join us. So, how are we? How are you, Tim?
All right. Yeah. Okay. I think.
Good weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't go very far. I potted around a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did really. Got some plants for the garden, that sort of thing.
Did you venture out?
I do. Yeah. I did that. And, just a bit of exercise.
Good stuff.
We
got Tina, but no camera, I'm afraid. So,
Tim, do you know what my opening words to Lorna were when I joined at 1:45? I said, "Is Tim joining today? I do hope so."
Oh, that's nice.
Faithful Tim Wraith.
He's on 20 grand a week. He goes to everyone.
I try not to go to all of them, actually. I only go to the good ones.
Oh, Tim.
Oh.
I'll pay you later. Richard will pay you later.
Yeah.
Tina, I'll be glad to see you. I'd be delighted to see you.
She's not got a camera, I'm afraid, Diane. So, just stand only.
You mean you don't give all of your staff?
She's not staff, she's my wife.
I know she is, but I'm saying staff so that we make it professional. They don't all have laptops with cameras on.
No, it's Tina's own laptop, so there you go. Well, Lorna, I think we're waiting for two more, aren't we? So do we want to make a start, Diane?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You know can Tina hear? Is that okay? Tim, so you the faithful one. We'll be able to explore team resilience with
I'm going to put on the spot here.
Tina's speaking, but I can't hear Tina on here though, so...
What's up, Richard?
Tina is speaking because I can hear her next door speaking, but we can't hear her on here for some reason, so maybe there isn't a microphone on her computer either.
Has she muted herself?
No. Well, I'll go and have a quick look, see if there's anything to do, and you two carry on.
So we'll carry on.
Yeah.
Tim, shall we start?
That'd be great. How's your weekend, Diane? All right?
Oh, Tim, very good, because Right, let's get into slideshow mode, Tim. This is a technicality that, bear with me. Right, here we are. And let's get into slideshow mode. So, Tim, what can you see?
I can see your blue sort of slide with a sort of a whirly sort of weight sort of thing.
There we are, fabulous. So yes, in answer to your question, my weekend, I had a lovely weekend. I did my walks on Port Meadow, and I'm not running. Did I tell you? I'm not.
I saw. Yes, yeah. Dodgy.
My dodgy knee.
Yeah.
So I'm walking. Well, you know this already, then, Tim. I'm walking 7 Ks a day. So
I didn't know you did every day. Oh, good.
Well, I tried to, but actually the reason why this was a great weekend is last weekend I was writing a proposal, and in that beautiful sunshine, I didn't get out. So I was determined to get out this weekend and not do any work. Yeah. So building team resilience. The interesting question about this, and Richard and I had a debate about this earlier, he put an interesting picture of Thunderbirds, but this, as we know, we might recognize as our red arrows. And let's look, what I'm going to give you today is not our red arrows, but a story about the equivalent in America, the Thunderbird pilots in America, and one in particular that I have met. But let's first look at what is team resilience compared to individual resilience, which I found interesting, and I like this definition in particular, is a capacity as a team to be successful. In other words, do what they need to do before everybody needs to set up these webinars, get more clients. So at Sobol House, what's your one main aim that you would say, Tim?
What is it, as an organization or?
Well, as an overall mission, would you say?
Well, it's to make sure that everybody throughout Oxfordshire has wonderful end-of-life care.
Yeah.
And free at the point of use is what we probably has access to. Has access to.
Has access to. Wow.
Access to.
Okay.
That's our overall mission, I think.
Right, okay. So hence you having your role as a fundraiser, Tim.
Yeah, we try to meet that.
But the interesting thing is that actually resilience is about not only achieving what you need to achieve, but actually pulling together as a team.
Yeah.
And I love this third bit as well, is being able to learn from the setbacks that we have, which, as we know, happen in individually, happen regularly, and happen in teams.
Sure.
So that I love that definition. So let's have a look at today. We're going to look at a model of team resilience, and then have a taster of tips and tools. So I'm really just going to give you a flavour of them, because the lovely thing about B4 webinars is they're short, sharp, and to the point. Richard, would you say 30 minutes, done and dusted? So
We might even make them shorter, Diane, as well in future. So
well, 20 minutes at bio, my goodness. So I've drawn up this model, and in comparison to three others, one by Robertson Cooper, another one by Hansen, and I've also brought in the work I've been learning over the last 4 or 5 years by Bert Hellinger. And these are the essential elements, and we will go into them. But I want to start with a story of Colonel Nicole Malachowski. I've learned how to say her name. I'm so delighted. She is the first female Thunderbird pilot in America. And Richard, I didn't know until recently, but these are the Thunderbirds. Do you see? Compared to the... Tim, did you see the Thunderbird advert that Richard put up?
No, when was that?
to draw that as well, Diane. I'm so sorry you're disappointed. This lady is also 50 grand an hour if you want to hire her as a professional speaker, I found to my amazement. Diane, this
right.
Nicole lady.
With Nicole. Yeah. So Tim, I came back from meeting her in the States at a Gartner conference, and I said to Richard, you've got to get her to bio. She's such a fantastic speaker. One of the, I'll tell you some snippets about her, is one of the first things about her that struck me was her first day of work. She said she got to, wanted to go and get into her F-16 aeroplane. She'd been flying for about 15 years, and she was stopped. And she was told, sorry, you're not going anywhere near that aircraft. Until, and the commander-in-chief showed her a picture of 99 other Thunderbird team members. And he said to her, your job in the next 2 weeks is to get to know each and every one of these members of this team, what their role is, and what their home situation is, if they've got children, what their children's names and ages are, whether they have a partner, what their partner's name is, and what they are interested in out of work. And that was her project for the first 2 weeks. She wasn't allowed near an aeroplane. And she said she was quite shocked because pilots, including, as we know, Thunderbird or Red Arrow pilots, what are they made for but is going in the aeroplanes? And we'll have a look now, what was the purpose behind it? I'll press pause button there. So the 4 elements of this team resilience model: having a clear purpose, connecting well, building on learning, and being able to adapt to change. So we're going to pause there. And Tim, I'm going to ask you, and Tina, if she has found a microphone in her laptop, Richard. What's one challenge that your team, Tim, has that you need team resilience for? And I'm going to stop sharing so that we
I mean, obviously it's probably quite an obvious one, but it's the working remotely,
right,
and not being able to do what we normally do as a team, really, and that sort of be out and about and meeting each other. Although I think it's interesting in the last few weeks, there's bits of it that seem to have brought us closer together than further apart. But it's needing that resilience to keep going when it's just a bit tough what we're trying to do.
Yeah, Maisie,
Well.
sorry, Tim.
We're all doing that remotely. Yeah.
and I'll link that up. I'm just, Maisie, do you want to tell us your team? Do you want to unmute yourself and tell us about your team? Hi, Maisie.
Hi, Diane and everyone else. I work
Hi, Maisie.
in education,
Right.
and my team are currently, like Tim's team, working remotely.
Right.
And naturally, the classroom is now the dining room, the study, the dad's office, whatever is available. So I think the challenges for us are continue to provide a high standard of education and ensuring that education still takes place.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And given all these mixed roles that we play. So Maisie, so have you got children, or are you a teacher of other children?
I'm a teacher of other children.
Teacher of other children. Fabulous. Yeah. And just such a challenge. It really, really is. So let's have a look at the first step in this model then. And we'll go into the model, each of the stages, and then for each of them I'm going to give you some tips and tools. And Tim, I would be curious to know, when we come to that, what has helped your team, because you said, oh, well, curiously we've come together in something. So let's have a look at the first one, is that a clear purpose is absolutely essential. And each of you, Maisie, I'm hearing from you as well as Tim, you've got that lovely dual purpose of providing that end-of-life care and hopefully actually free at point of access. So wonderful. But really the purpose needs to be clear. And the question I've been asking clients in this COVID time is, has your purpose changed? So I, for example, used to only do face-to-face workshops. And if you'd said to me, Diane, will you do webinars? I kind of go, no, not so keen on that. Guess what I'm doing now? There's 6 webinars in this series. So my part of my purpose has changed. And also as leaders, what I often say is that what listening ear do we need in listening to our teams, and what messages do we need to give about our purpose? So Richard in B4, Richard, you're a great example of, there's so many wonderful things that you do, is what are those messages that you are giving out, and what are the messages you ask your team to give out? And what are we as B4 members, what are we hearing? So that clear purpose is absolutely vital. And Tim, this comes to your connecting well. You're saying that we're missing the belonging as a team. And what I often say is that what's important is, what are our belonging rules, I call them. But essentially it's how are we to behave? How are we to show up in terms of, when are we to, now in our COVID world, when are we to be available on Zoom? Are we available on the phone as well as on Zoom or on Microsoft Teams, whatever it is? What are the boundaries between home and work? How are we expected to behave in our work roles, but knowing that our boundaries are pretty close with our home situation? And then also, what performance is expected of us? So like the Thunderbird pilots, they absolutely know what performance is expected of them in order to be able to fly. Either they do air shows, and as our Red Arrows do, and they also fly in combat. So Colonel Nicole Malachowski has served both in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as doing many air shows. The next tool, so for each of these aspects of the model, I'm giving you 2 tools, but just wondering, do you do a highlight and a low light? So let's pause button there, and let's see if you've got any comments about that. Clear purpose and the connecting well. So Tim, I'm curious about what has helped you in this COVID time to draw closer together. But
I think we've had pretty clear leadership. I think I wouldn't say from the whole hospice, but I mean, I think from our sort of co-team that I'm part of.
Yeah.
I think we've had pretty good leadership. I think we were sort of immobilized fairly quickly.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not perfect. And actually, talking to some of my colleagues, some of them don't feel it's going quite as well. But I think you can't just sit there and expect it to everyone to be resilient or to happen. You've got to try and meet people halfway. And I think that's partly, well led. Partly, most of us have sort of tried to go that extra mile and accept that it's a far from perfect world at the moment.
Sure.
We've just got to make do.
Yeah.
In certain things, nothing's going to be completely smooth. So
yeah,
that is, I think, what I've learned. That's why I think it's going reasonably well.
Dan, can I ask, is your question related to how we will monitor performance management from this?
Yeah. So say that question again, Maisie.
Is your question really about how we will manage performance management from this?
Yes. Yeah. So what I'm curious about, because I work in private sector and public sector, is that often I find this performance management is much more of a tricky subject. So Maisie, tell me about your world. I'm curious to understand. Whereas in the private sector, it's much easier to know this is what we have to do. Although sometimes my work in the motor industry, I will admit that people said, gosh, I'm reluctant to pull people up if they haven't done enough sales or sold enough service hours. What I'm saying is that in order for a team to have resilience, we need to be able to know how to behave well as a team, but know what is expected of us in the what we've got to do. It's not just the how. So Maisie, tell us about in your world. Is it clear about particularly in this COVID world, what you need to achieve and what you need to perform at?
I think it's clear, but I think it's to do with the channels of communication aren't always clear.
Right.
And it's how we relay that to the team to keep some form of a reflective diary of how this has impacted them and how they've managed with their emotions and their delivery in this strange situation.
Yeah.
Or please excuse me, there's somebody at the door.
That's absolutely fine, Maisie. And we're leading to our next point. So I'm going to move on to the next part of the model.
Can I just say something quickly, Diane?
Yeah, Richard, sure.
I don't know whether you covered this or not, because I had to dip out for a second, but and I know a lot of my team are on the call, so that they might say, I'm not very good at this anyway, but this whole way of working now, it's a lot harder to recognize if someone might visibly be struggling or be having a bad day, and you jump straight into a meeting and it's like a clean sheet of paper and you just crack on.
Yeah.
And it's harder to detect if someone's got a particular issue.
Yeah.
And therefore you might just plow on unless you actually specifically have time to ask people one-to-one. You might be just carrying on. If you're in a good mood, you just assume everybody else is. It's harder to detect.
So Richard, I've gone back to that connecting well, and I totally agree with you. And this is what I suggest that teams do, is to start a team meeting by saying in one sentence, or you could say in 3 words, give a highlight and a low light. And Richard, what it's giving is, so for example, if I had to start Monday last week, I would have said a highlight, yes, I've got a proposal done. Yay, I hope I can earn some money now from webinars. A low light would have been no walks on Port Meadow, either on Saturday or on Sunday, because I'd been so busy doing this proposal. So, and what that does for teams, you give everybody a turn, and if you want to limit the time, sometimes I set a timer and I say, we've each got 1 minute, and you let the alarm go off on the phone. And what it's giving you as are you chief exec or MD? Richard. Richard, which one are you? You just Richard. So, but it gives you an opportunity to just listen of what and people are choosing what they disclose, so they don't have to. This isn't asking. We're not saying we need a tell us everything that's gone wrong in your life. It's just give us a snippet of what's good and what's not good. And therefore, when we start getting into the right, we need to hit the ground running on which webinars are on this week, what else are we doing, how many members have we got in, you are just listening with another level of listening as a leader. And this connects with, let me move to the next point, which, Maisie, are you back?
Yes, I'm back now.
Did you want to say something, Tim?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the whole. I went to our local church the other week just before lockdown came.
Yeah.
There's a small church, like a church planned for St Ebbs on our next street, and the pastor there was speaking. The guy there, and I came away thinking a lot is going to be asked of people in leadership over the coming weeks and months, not just in the church, but everywhere, in business, in sport, and I suppose that's why leaders get paid a bit more because they should have more. I don't think all of them have that skill, all of the skills. Yeah. But I think that's where a leader would, in this context, would check, wouldn't just rely on a team meeting, would they? They'd know, they'd make sure they do contact people on a regular basis to
find separate one-to-ones. Yeah.
And so. However, Tim, to me, this is both and.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think both. Oh, definitely.
And what it's giving is it's giving you, and it's giving each person in your team just Oh,
definitely, because we can all look out for it. When we're building at resilience, we support each other.
Yeah, but it's fascinating how it shifts. So Isabel, in my team, for example, we're a two-team organisation, and with associates, but we meet twice a day, 3 times a day, in a regular, structured way, and I have introduced highlights and lowlights, and she's quite private, and it's helped me to listen to what's gone on for her. So a highlight the other day, she said, oh, and I played the piano this weekend. And I said, what? I had no idea you played the piano. Have you got a piano in your house? She said, yeah, I shipped my piano down here from Cheshire. So it gave me a lovely insight into another part of her life that I had no idea about. So let's look, Maisie, this was your question about the time for reflection. So thank you, Maisie, for leading us into this part of the model, which is, so one of the first tools, and Richard has experienced this with his team. So Richard, at the end of the away day that we did for B4, I asked, so what have you all done well today, and what do you need to improve, as well as I asked you for feedback on how I ran that away day. So this, I do believe, as teams, we can do it at the end of a team meeting. What have we done well today? What do we need to improve? And then there's another question. In the how we have met on Zoom, how have we done it well today? And one of our main learnings we have is to try and set a clearer agenda in the beginning. So, right, what are the top 3 and what are the other 2 or 3 that we have to achieve? So that I find helpful, is to be disciplined, because I'm ready to dive in, and I just press pause button and say, what are we going to do?
Can I just ask a question about the agenda?
Yeah, sure.
Is that just set by somebody in isolation, or is that set in collaboration with others?
Yeah, Maisie, very good point. So we use a online tool called Trello. It's just a platform we can share easily online. And so we do what I call co-creating the agenda. So we might have some set things. So currently I'm running webinars, like B4's running webinars. So which webinars are coming up when is, and what needs to happen. And then there are any other things. And then I ask Isabel to, she starts work at 9, and by 9:30 we have our first call. And I say to her, can you please add any things to the agenda so that at 9:30 we've got our joint agenda.
Okay, thank
How
you for
do you
that.
do it, Casey?
How have I done it? I've done it both ways, but there are times when I've had to do the executive thing and just do the agenda.
Yeah.
And then the other times, but that's when there's an emergency meeting and we need to discuss something urgent. But then there are other times where I have collaborated with people and gone around and asked them what item do you think we should be on the agenda, and also asked them if they'd like to present.
And Maisie, do you know what? To save time, I like that in my own organisation to have been done before, so that we not use, I hear what you're saying, and I totally believe in interacting and co-creating. Look at the webinars, I'm asking you all to interact. However, to me, I choose where I do that interaction, and I do believe being prepared for a meeting is part of showing up well in organizations. So if people want to present, what I like is that they've put their name next to that agenda item. So do you see what I mean? So that we use the in meeting time as the really let's get down to work, but we all need to be prepped for that meeting.
Oh, definitely. I agree that there should be some information sent out in advance for what people need to bring, what they need to have read or what they need to prepare, and if individuals are responsible for things, just checking in with them that they're ready and they've got all the resources available.
Yeah, totally. Fabulous. And then guess what I've got as tool 2. You might guess, Richard, that this is talk to the rebels. And even though sometimes, so what I mean by the rebels is those who perhaps are the more tricky people in the organization, or perhaps your clients, or the whingy people. And sometimes they can give us good data that can help us to build our learning as a team of what we need to improve. I'm going to move on to the next one, and then I'm going to I'll come to we'll stop sharing and share some ideas. So the final part of this model is how can we adapt well to change? And one of the things that I say is we need to make good endings. And a very good question here is, what are we mad about? What are we sad about? And what are we glad about? And this is such a good question to be asking in a meeting when something dramatically has changed, like all of us doing home working now. So what are we mad about? Well, actually, I'm mad that I can't go and deliver face-to-face workshops. What am I sad about and what am I glad about? But actually, I'm glad I've now learned how to do webinars. Who would have ever thought that I would be doing webinars and have my office become a studio? And then the next tool, and this I do believe is vital in our COVID world, is know what we can and can't control. And my partner, Chris, he gives this one back to me. If I'm having a whinge, he'll say, Diane, can you control that at all? And I'll go, Chris, who taught you about this? Know what you can and can't control. And but I know it's just so valuable to sift out that actually I've got no control on that. We are in COVID and I can't. So for example, I was in Co-op. I haven't gone shopping often. And on Saturday, my son in Vancouver asked me to go and get him a D1 form for a driving license, to put his motorbike license on. Faithful mother went out. I haven't been shopping. I did go for my son. And people came right up to me. I was wearing a mask. And I was so, I said, oh, excuse me, would you mind going round there? Which was the way that they should have gone. And I find the social distancing, those of you who know me, is I can be quite clear. I found it quite challenging.
So I can't imagine you asking that politely, Diane.
I put my soft voice on, Richard. And she wasn't happy, though, because she went round and then she said, I could have gone there. And I kind of thought, you know, this whole thing about boundaries and what can we control and what can't we control with how other people behave is a very interesting thing. So by the way, when I go to Port Meadow, I jump over the fence and my dog has to crawl through the fence instead of opening a gate. So these are the 4 aspects that are vital in teams. Have a clear purpose, connect well, build the learning attitude and approach in a team, and be willing to adapt to change. And finally, what does Connecting to Excellence offer? A team coaching journey. Richard, just think what B4 team could be on. Not just a one day, you could do a team journey. And we also do one-day away days and one-to-one coaching. And at this point, I'm going to stop sharing. Any comments or questions as we bring today to a close? Tim, what's your takeaway from today? Maisie, I'll then come to you, and then to you, Richard.
I suppose you know, we need to never stop learning and keeping this resilience thing. It's amazing also what you're capable of doing. I think we're finding when you have to do, you find a resilience in you. And I think also think about I've been a big thinker about just focusing on things you can do, because what you can't do, if you try to do it, it just takes so much energy away. And
yes,
yeah, we just find it all very strange at the moment. So I'm just trying to focus on.
Yeah.
My resilience feels a bit low at the moment, but it's sort of that's when you need to be part of others who will spur you on a little bit and increase your resilience a bit, I think.
And then, Tim, my question is, of the 10 Fs, which one, you don't have to answer this, which one or two do you need to do more of to build more resilience in yourself?
Yeah.
So Maisie, there's a 10F model for personal resilience. So Maisie, for you, what's your takeaway from today?
My takeaway is that I have a clearer understanding of resilience, and that I need to somehow work more closely with my team to ask those interpersonal questions to help understand where exactly they are right now, so that we can build a stronger team.
Yeah. Fab.
And it can be quite trite just to say, "Oh, and we will be better for it." But I think when it is a bit challenging, we are better for.
Yeah.
However, I mean, it's terrible at the moment. I'm not making out it's great.
Yeah.
There'll be some bits that will come out better from it. And obviously there's other businesses that are it's disastrous. And I don't really sort of glib saying that we're all going to come jumping out of this in a few months' time. But I think we will have learned certain things about ourselves and our team, and we might just allow a little bit of slack to other people a little bit as well as we're trying to be more resilient as a team.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll have a better understanding of where they are and what they're dealing with, their home life as well as professional life.
And actually, it's a privilege then, isn't it, Maisie? Just having that window of insight into other people's lives. Yeah. Richard?
Yes, it is.
Sorry, Maisie, what's that?
I agreed with you. I said, yes, it is.
Yeah. Richard, any particular insight as you close today for us?
Well, just, what you've made me think about the team, really, in terms of it's not enough just to say, is everybody okay this morning on the team call? And a bit deeper. And I know a number of them on the call now, they probably don't need that, but at least I should be going out of my way to engage with them on a one-to-one basis to find out if there's anything that they're struggling with, if there's any support they need, rather than just having that interactive time during a team meeting. Find a bit more if there's any challenges that they got that I can help with, or we can realign things to make things easier for them to cope with the current situation.
Yeah.
I suppose it's also having a real deep interest in people, isn't it? It's interesting what you said, lady from the Thunderbird. They wanted us to find out about everything. Hopefully that will become a natural instinct for a lot of us. You know, we should be able to, it's good to be interested. I love it when people are interested in, I like people who are interested in people.
Yeah.
Rather than just talking about themselves constantly. People are interested in others.
But I think that's been one of the things when you work in a day-to-day office, though, isn't it? Where we're like, you're just going, hello, how are you? I'm fine. Whereas now, you've actually got to know them. You actually see inside their home when you have your meetings, but you also have to get to know them a bit more personally in order to move things forward, because a meeting can't just start with, come on, let's just get on with it. You've got to take that few minutes to settle everybody, have that brief chat, and then you can start your meeting.
I found also when you see people out and about,
you're
asking people how they are, they're asking how you are, but people are meaning it more, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Seeing We are seeing I don't know, sort of getting deep and meaningful here. Richard's looking a bit uncomfortable.
You carry on, Tim.
I've worked out what lovely neighbours I've got for a start off.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Do you know, so I was on Port Meadow one evening on a Thursday last week. I did my walk really late and I heard all the clanging and I was thinking, oh, I've missed it. And my neighbours that I know, but we don't text often, we just text about the fence or they text me and said, Diane, are you okay? We haven't seen you. And I just thought, that's just
great, isn't it?
Special. So Tim, I just want to before Richard, you close today, is the point about authenticity comes up. In that the way we ask that question at the beginning of a team meeting, we can show our authenticity as a leader by saying, well, for me, a highlight yesterday or this week has been this, and for me, a low light has been this. And choosing very carefully how you honestly voice it without giving a long sob story. So there's a beautiful, to me, there's a gift in how, as leaders, we role model that and say what's good and what's not been good, in order that the rest of the team really believe that you are asking a genuine question. And you don't want a long sub story because you've got to get on and discuss what has to happen today.
Yeah, no,
so,
good point.
Richard, close from you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Diane. Brilliant. Well, thank you for joining him, Maisie and Tina. Good to see you. We've got 3 more in this series coming up, so hopefully you can join us for those. And please do spread the word about Diane, because hopefully some benefit and be good to get more people on. Although we are limited to 10. So if we can just see the closing PowerPoint. So tomorrow we've got...
Thank you, Diane. Sorry.
Tina, I wondered where you were.
She is here.
Thanks for coming on, Tina.
No, thank you. Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Completely ruined my PowerPoint presentation.
Tina, thank you.
No, I'm joking. So we've got, so you do know she's here. I'm not gagged her in the corner or something.
Well, Richard, I was wondering.
Yeah. So we've got Tony Hobbs tomorrow from Accountants, Chapman Robinson, for more return of the team, protecting your key investment. Green Tech, second in a series of their talks, and we've got Karen Davidson, Tech Tribe, on with them. Pivot tomorrow evening with Lucinda Whiteley, more of a media take. We've also got Nexus, which isn't on there, but it is starring Tim Wraith of Sobo House.
Only for about 3 minutes, but that's all right.
Here we go.
No, just saying. I don't want people to...
We're going to do your own show eventually.
No, I don't want to give you the wrong impression.
Keep him perky with Tim Wraith, I reckon we need to have.
No, it's just I didn't mean it that way. Just a little...
No, I mean joking, Tim. It'd be good to see you. And then we've got Leon from Heart FM on Wednesday.
I thought that looked good.
Hour of radio. So it goes on. Vincent on Thursday. And then we've got Speed Networking on Friday, where we've got a bottle of Keeper's Gin. Thursday. Bottle of Keeper's Gin. It's Thursday this week because Friday's a bank holiday. And then, obviously, for those, Maisie, I'm not sure if you're aware, bio, that's going to be on 2nd to 4th of June. 99 webinars in 3 days.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot, Maisie. We're building ourselves.
You're overworking your team.
No, they'll have to answer that one.
They're all listening, Maisie.
You might need to report me. No, they're doing a great job. I've said it 100 times, but they're all doing a sterling job. So thank you, everybody. Brilliant. Well, good to see everybody, and I hope we see you soon.